Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Londonderry Town Council meeting for October 3rd, 2022. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing, as is our tradition. Tonight, for obvious reasons, we'll have a moment of silence for the brave men and women of the Londonderry Fire and Police Department who serve this community. Thank you for the music. Thank you. Frank, of course it was you. At least I didn't look up to see who it was.
At least it's not me.
Well, that's true. All set? You all set now?
All set now.
All right. So, folks, we start our meetings with public comment. I'm going to make a statement here at the beginning of the council meeting. Last week, we had someone with a complaint. The council and with its attorney has reviewed that complaint, and we're going to move forward with that with a statement that I'm going to make now. As is in the case of nationally and statewide, there has been incidents recently when discussion at public meetings here in Londonderry become less civil or courteous than it should be. The town council and other boards reminds people that Londonderry is better than that. We invite people to participate civilly and courteously. Let's afford one another the respect that comes with recognizing that we may and even should disagree at times, but we remain one community focused on that one goal of being the best place to live in the United States. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's move forward. We're not going to continue to look in the past. With that, public comment is open. Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Doug Thomas, 143 Mammoth Road. I'm come here as one of your state representatives to just reiterate some information that you have heard in the news lately about this additional public assistance program for electrical and heating assistance. And I just want to make sure that people here got the word of what's going on, what's available, and who's eligible for it. I want to say that because of some surplus funds that were left over from the last term, Speaker Packard came up with a program that was approved by House, Senate, and signed by the governor for some energy fuel relief. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And in addition, the governor's program of the electrical bill rebates was modified to provide $200 to those that actually can apply for it and actually are eligible for it. So with that being said, I just want to read this one piece here. It says that the energy assistance bill was passed by a voice vote in the House and Senate, and it provides up to $35 million in aid to families who earn between 60 to 75% of the state median income. The new program will supplement existing assistance programs that help households making 60% or less than the state median income. An additional $7 million is appropriated in the bill to bolster the existing electrical assistance program for those households making 60% or less. People can apply through the Community Action Agency. The one that's closest to us here is the Rockingham Community Action at 9 Crystal Avenue in Derry. Another close by Community Action Agency is the one located up in Manchester. The Department of Energy on their website has all the information provided to assist people to apply, and if they're eligible, they will receive a one-time credit of $450 for heating assistance and a one-time credit of $200 on electric bills. So I'd like to bring that to your attention and also suggest to the town council that the information here with all of the appropriate links be put on the town's website so people have easy access to go and see if they're eligible or not. So if you have any questions, I can answer them now the best I can. I just want to make sure that everyone here is aware of this program. What we did, because we have the surplus funds, we know prices are sky high, and they will be sky high, and we are very sensitive to that. And so we're glad that we were able to provide this, at least for this year.
Thank you. Very much appreciate that, and we'll see to it that the town manager gets that up on the website. Thank you very much, Doug.
Before Doug leaves, Doug, can I ask you a question? I know you brought it up before. Of
course.
Have you heard anything more about the rolling brownouts? Like when we could expect them? Are we going to be expecting them? Has anything further come along with that? I know you brought it to our attention early
Well,
on in the year.
Right. We've heard nothing more about them except that the threat is still there. If there is an unusually cold snap, it depends on how much power is being used, the amount of power being generated. If it hits an extremely high peak, it could be, this is the word we get from ISO New England, but as far as anything imminent or anything that's definite, nothing to date. So it's just that something that if and when it should happen, the utilities do have a plan in place, and we just don't want people to be surprised about it.
Is
But
there
there's
anything
nothing
that-
imminent happening right now.
Is there anything we as a town council or as a town can do to be ready for those? Or did they
Just
give us anything?
Look over your plans, and I think the plans that were briefed last year, if you want, I can ask Eversource if they want to come back and give you a copy of what the plan, it's just the same as what they briefed last year, just to be ready for it. And, you know, if something is coming down the line, if we're getting a really, really cold snap, just be aware that it could happen, but there's nothing imminent right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are in public comment. If anyone would like to make any comment this evening.
Christine Perez, 5 Wesley Drive. I have a couple of questions. Is it against the law to give a false address when you speak at the town council meeting?
I'm not going to do questions and answers
Okay.
tonight.
I have a question about that. And then the other thing is, I had a nice long conversation after the primary with Jonathan Kipp, which was a great conversation. I had a nice long conversation with Sherry Farrell as well, which was very informative. But it's my understanding that family members are not supposed to be working the polls if they have a family member on the ballot. And I would like to make sure that that holds true for the November election, because it's my understanding in the primary that that did not hold true. So there's my statement. My next thing is, I, as a individual at the Nevins, not for the Nevins, and once again, going to go on record for saying, when the negotiations are done with Gilchrist LLC, I would like to see a fence. You all asked me what kind. I came up with what kind. I'd like an 8-foot chain link fence. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else for public comment? Seeing that, public comment is closed. New business. It is with a great deal of pleasure that I move to the next item. Confirmation of the Deputy Chief, Kim A. Bernard, as the Londonderry Police Chief, Town Manager presenting.
Mr. Chairman, when Bill Hart retired as Chief of Police on August 5th, we all recognized he would be a tough act to follow. That is particularly the case because of the significant challenges police officers and police departments face in 2022. Londonderry Police Department is no exception. With critical staffing shortages and fewer people applying to become police officers, it has never been more difficult to be a police officer or to run a police department. Following Chief Hart's departure, in the face of these challenges, Deputy Chief Kim Bernard assumed command of the department. Since starting with Londonderry Police Department in 2001, Kim has held some of the most important ranks and positions in the department, including patrolman, field training officer, patrol sergeant, detective sergeant, support services lieutenant, watch commander, operations captain, and, since October of last year, deputy chief. Since becoming deputy chief, and even more since assuming command on August 5th, Kim has taken over ever-increasing responsibilities and shown that he is up to the challenge. Kim's greatest strength is his ability to deal with people. To a fault, he treats people decently and always strives to do the right thing. Those things matter in any organization, but they really matter at Londonderry Police Department. As someone who worked at Londonderry Police Department as their prosecutor for 3.5 years, I can personally attest to how important the culture of this police department is. It all starts at the top, and I have every expectation that Kim will be a good steward of this tradition. Kim is both a trusted partner with town administration and an advocate for LPD's rank and file. He has navigated some difficult waters these past few months with professionalism and dignity. Mr. Chairman, it is my high privilege and distinct honor to nominate Deputy Chief Kim A. Bernard to be Londonderry's next Chief of Police.
Thank you, sir. We accept your nomination. Only thing I'll say is that I've said this at the school board meetings and any place else where anybody will listen. Our police department is well-trained, well-equipped, with great people who really care about all the people in this community. Having seen the training firsthand run by people who are in this room, you can all feel very good when you sleep at night because these folks are out there. They do everything possible to protect this community. So with that, I'll accept a motion to name Kim Bernard Police Chief.
I make a motion to name Kim Bernard Police Chief.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative. Congratulations, Chief. Whatever the chief would like.
Sounds great. And if we could have all the officers from Londonderry Police Department come on up front, please. Tom Angelo, we have you guys stand right in front. Members of the council, if you don't mind just standing from the back, and we're going to have all the officers just file in. Can I have you guys take a step forward, please? Thank you. All guys in the back.
Thank you.
How can I not come up here and say something? First and foremost, 21 years ago this month, I came to work for this great community. This is going to sound pretty bad, but when I was a young man, I had no idea where Londonderry was. I grew up in Goffstown my whole life. When I started looking for a career, it began as a dispatcher, Marine Patrol, Allenstown Police Department. And I had talked to Bill Hart at one point, and I asked him if he'd be willing to let me use his name for a reference on an application I had filled out, ready to roll, for Manchester Police in Hooksett. And at the time, I thought it'd be a no-brainer for him to say yes. Bill told me no. And I was a little taken back by, how would he say no? I've known this guy for a couple of years. Bill said, why do you want to work there? You should come to Londonderry. I threw those applications away and went through the process here. Some of you that don't know this, when I was going through this process, I had a daughter that was at Children's Hospital week to week. I had to withdraw from this process. I had to call Chief Ryan and say to him that I had to bow out of the process because my family was more important. He called me back the next day and says, hey, family's important to us too. Take care of your family first. Apply here some other time. There'll always be an opening here. Several months later, I did that. I called him back And I had my PT tests, my interviews, my oral boards with admin and everyone. And here I am, 21 years later, standing before you folks, accepting this position with great honor. This PD has had some phenomenal leaders for a long time. This police department gave me everything that it could have in my life. This community, you guys took a chance on me. And I'm going to give you back everything I have for many years to come. To the men and women I work with and serve left and right of me every single day, thank you for your support these last several months. I will do my best to serve you all with dignity and honor. And to the community, I will give you transparency and honesty every day I'm in office. And for the big changes of LPD, there's not many. We're going to take care of each other. We're going to build our staff. We're going to prove to you guys yet again why we're the best police department in the state. We are. We'll carry that on. And I will say this. You will see me, maybe more than you would like. I will be out in the community. If anybody has any questions or concerns, as the old saying goes, doors open. Call me, come down, and we'll have a chat. So, Mr. Town Manager, thank you very much for bringing this forward, and I appreciate it. I will be your partner. Deb, same with you. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Butler, Mr. Franz, thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this should be, we have a short agenda tonight, so if you all want to see government at work, you want to give it about 15, 20 minutes, we might actually get through this agenda. If not, you're welcome to, to exit as you like. Discussion with police department about the fire alarm panel. Dave?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dave Wally, Director of Public Works and Municipal Facilities. Come to you tonight to discuss a situation we have going on with the fire alarm panel at the police department. And I offer my congratulations to the chief, so this will be his first big battle right here, I think. But it is a serious situation that's going on with the fire alarm panel in some of the components and electrical parts of such, to the point that it needs replacement. The fire alarm panel is a proprietary panel, so there's only one vendor that we can deal with on it, is what that means. It's not part of my philosophy to go down these roads. I understand how municipalities end up in these predicaments at times, and we are moving away from that type of process and practice. So the current panel from our vendor, they're talking in tunes of, we have some preliminary estimates of $25,000 to $30,000 to replace just the panel.
So Dave, is it
Yep.
only the panel that has a problem? Does it-
Correct.
Or is it
The-
devices in the field as well?
There's a couple of smokes, if I understand correctly, a couple of the smaller alarms that are on the walls that it doesn't report to. So some of those parts are not replaceable. They don't have them, and the panel itself is beyond life expectancy as well.
Who's the manufacturer of the panel?
RB Allen Company.
Okay.
They're
We have more of these panels in town? Okay.
So, that being said, with extended discussion with the police department and their maintenance person as well, who was a great asset to help me with some of this information that was brought forward, we did some initial soliciting to what would it take to replace the entire system, because you have to replace all the smokes, all the different types of components of the system. Because the panel is not, it can't be switched out without switching out all of the components of the entire system.
So it's a technology that's not compatible with other
Others.
technologies that are on the market?
Correct. So we have begun the early stages of putting together for an RFP and putting that out. Preliminary estimates on that can be somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000 to replace the entire system. So I come here tonight just seeking some guidance on, that's some large sums of money. And so before we go down any one particular path, I wanted to kind of see or query the board as to what your thoughts might be on such a venture.
So with these kinds of panels and everything, if I remember correctly, it's 4-wire that they usually run out for these. For pull stations, it's a simple open and close of a circuit. So the wiring should be good.
The wiring, I believe, with the companies that we spoke to said that would not be an issue, no. Simply the components.
So the components they would be putting in would be 16 years newer, would be more intelligent, and would be speaking to a more intelligent panel.
That's correct.
Are we still going to be monitoring it at the Londonderry Police Station? Excuse me, Londonderry Fire Department?
Yes.
It won't go out to a central monitoring station?
No, not as I understand it, no. It would report directly to headquarters, yeah.
So you're only doing this by analog, right?
We updated our system back when we built a new dispatch center, so the old ticket paper that we used to have now is all digital and computerized as well.
Okay. Okay. Does it work at all now?
Define work.
Will it detect the fire?
Yes, as far as that's concerned, yes. But some of the audible alarms in certain rooms and whatnot, only the light will flash, so there's no sound.
Okay. Yep, of course.
We can have our fire prevention officer come in here at some point in time too and talk to you about these municipal alarm systems that we're currently using, because we're finding this a lot, that this, not just necessarily this specific vendor, but there's 2 or 3 of them out there that have the market in a hole. So we're telling new businesses that are coming in now that they have different alternatives versus this one radio box alarm or a Kingfisher or whoever it may be. We're offering them some other opportunities as well, because we're trying to get out of the same sort of scenario as well, not only for municipal buildings, but also for general business out there as well.
Well, the other fire alarm panels that are available, Tyco, Grinnell, Simplex, all have modules that can do multiple states of communication. So we should be able to get away from those type of things just based on the change in technology.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the cost for this system here, if this was a brand-new system, is pretty extravagant. So, and then not only for the part of installing the system, but then for the part of monitoring the system. So right now, the fire department currently monitors, I think, 400 and some boxes throughout town of these Kingfisher boxes or radio boxes that we monitor for no fees whatsoever. So I think you're gonna see the proposal going forward, probably sometime in October, November. I'm gonna have the fire prevention officer come over here and explain some of this to you in reference to fees for monitoring some of these systems that are out there, or allowing the businesses out there to go a different way.
Yeah, because if they're going private, they're looking at, thousands of dollars a year to monitor those systems.
So a lot of municipalities around the state now that are still using radio boxes, because that was the latest and greatest when we started this back probably, I'm gonna say 15, 20 years ago now, when we started radio boxes at the time, because we never had them before. It was always like Central Alarm or a third-party company that did them for us. But I think what you're seeing now is the municipalities going back the other way, because the cost for the businesses coming into town to be able to put these systems in is so extravagant. And the equipment that we have in-house, trying to maintain that and keep that up and running with service calls and stuff like that is pretty intense as well. So there's gonna be some proposals for some new things to look at going forward.
Yeah, and you're just getting a general alarm. You're not getting point by point, right?
Or, no, we'll get, we'll get smoke detectors, we'll get pulse stations, we'll get duct smokes. If it's a restaurant, we'll get the Ansel Hood systems. We usually get probably, I'm gonna say, anywhere from 1 to 11 zones, per complex.
Okay.
Just more coming forward, just to give you guys folks some options on what's gonna be out there.
Any other questions? I don't think you have any choice. I think you have to go look, and then we have to make a decision.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I preferred to come here tonight, just to discuss it, at least bring it out into the open before you saw an RFP in the paper and what's this all about? So the
Yeah,
community understands
unfortunately, I
it.
just don't think you have a choice.
I mean, that's the path that I was preferring anyhow, because the proprietary, and we can get into servicing and parts and the problems that come with that, because when people know that you're locked into them, yeah, all right, we'll be out in 6 weeks, there's no urgency to get there or supply you with the parts that you need, so.
There's 3 or 4 national companies that, are, I'm sure would be interested in doing business.
So we'll put the RFP out, and then I'll be back to present, which direction we're gonna go with who.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right, I have order 2022-16, an order relative to expenditure of reclamation trust funds. Hey, John.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm John Trotter, Director of Engineering and Environmental Services. Before you, I'm here this evening to request the release of $18,979 from the Reclamation Trust Fund for additional recycling carts for, again, this is all part of our automated curbside recycling collection. So that's the purpose of my request this evening.
Questions? I'll accept the motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any old business? I'll accept the motion to approve the minutes of September 26, 2022 as presented.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes affirmative. Liaison reports. Anything new to report, since I know we only met last week, just so we're getting back on schedule here for budget. All right, so we're gonna start getting ready for budget here, really thinking about what we're going to be doing going forward. Town manager report, anything new to report?
Just a couple things, Mr. Chairman. Understanding that one of the most important priorities for a town manager, at least in Londonderry, is working hard on economic development. I have been thinking about economic development a lot lately and spending some time trying to figure out new ideas and also refine what we're doing. I wanted to provide the council with a brief update on economic development this evening. I was one of the keynote presenters at the State of the Region event last week. That was put on by the Greater Londonderry Chamber of Commerce. And the topic was to provide an update on economic development in Londonderry. I think the presentation was well received. Also had the opportunity to meet lots of business owners and officials from surrounding communities. Got a stack of business cards, which is kind of the point at events like this. Made lots of contacts on issues like housing and nonprofits and food insecurity as well, which are issues that many of our residents care deeply about. So I plan to engage more with this group in the future and sometime when time allows, give the same presentation to the town council to talk about projects that are in the pipeline and projects that have just been approved, as well as an approach to economic development. We last looked systematically at economic development about 15 years ago, when the then Community Development Director put together and presented to the council an economic development plan. To my knowledge, that plan has never been formally revisited. And so I think it's important, and with the council's approval, for me to freshen up that plan in a way that will allow us, like I said, to address economic development in a systematic fashion as opposed to a little bit more of a haphazard approach, and just to make sure that what's written down aligns with where we want to be going. I plan to roll out in the coming weeks a business visit program where members of the town council and I could visit different businesses in town in an effort to not only learn information about what businesses are concerned about, but also to make sure that our processes and procedures align with our economic development goals. And lastly, Mr. Chairman, as the council knows, one of my goals going into budget season is to look at our development regulations. It's been about 10 years since there's been any kind of a comprehensive look at them. Maybe they're great, maybe they're not, but I think it's time that we look comprehensively at those regulations to make sure that they're doing what we want them to do in a way that furthers our economic development goals. That is the update that I have for you tonight on economic development. I hope you found it helpful.
Real quick, Mr. Chair, if I may. I was in attendance where town manager had presented at the Londonderry Chamber of Commerce meeting, and I will say that town manager did an outstanding job with his presentation. I also want to note there was no reading from the slides. Kind of an inside joke, but the projector didn't work. So, but I think that Mr. Malaguti did properly articulated his plans and outlining economic development within the town, and wanted to thank him for doing such an outstanding job.
Thank you, Councilor Franz, and thank you for attending.
Much appreciated. Anything else this evening?
The drought is receding a little bit. We are no longer in a state of severe drought. We're in a moderate drought. I submit that for any action the council may want to take tonight, if any.
So we can take the drought
Restrictions?
restriction of the,
Well, we are still in a drought, but it's a less severe drought than we were in last week.
so we can go back to 1?
Yes, you certainly could.
Do we file a motion, or we just consensus?
What's your pleasure?
I'd like to file a motion to reduce the restriction to level 1 based on the updated drought status from the town manager.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, our next meeting is October 17th at 7 PM, with a following meeting of October 7th at 7 PM. Our budget meeting is the Saturday just prior to that on it's November 5th, right? Yeah, November 5th.
I believe it's November 5th, Mr. Chairman.
And that'll be
just
the
offhand.
fun 4.5-hour session here going over the budgets. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I need a second?
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.